I've seen all of the Fast and the Furious movies, lady. It's all about family.
Shazam! Fury of Gods can be summed up as callbacks, as one scene leads to another, and nothing really gets left out or behind. It's really kind of a Chekhov's gun of a movie. However, by trying to make it more epic and grandiose, it loses its emotional value that the original film had. Alright, I'm jumping straight into spoilers this time around, and if you're enjoying these reviews, go ahead and like, subscribe, hit the bell. It goes a long way for the channel and I really appreciate it. We start off with the Shazam family not really wanting to be heroes anymore, not as excited as you may think kids might be into it, except for Freddy, who's really into that nerdy stuff and wants to kind of have a solo act, a gig of his own. Billy is afraid of all of this in this situation because he feels like he's losing his family that he just got a hold of, and I really like this because it felt relatable. As you grow older, people tend to grow apart or they get separated due to life, and Billy just found these people, and to him is like the audience where we just met, we just got them, and now you don't want to be together. So I thought this was very natural progression in the story for Billy. And then we have our antagonists, the Sisters of Atlas, who are shown to be three different people, and they kind of have this thing going for them where one is really young, looking to the future, another one is old, having wisdom from the past, and the other one's middle-aged, which can't see anything past what's in front of them because they're in the present, I think. Overall, other than Anne interacting with Freddy, the Sisters of Atlas don't really serve a purpose than to cause conflict and chaos, which is kind of what they're titled for in the movie, funny enough. But there is no character progression that is gained from them, and they themselves don't always make sense, where the first time we meet the two older sisters, they're murdering people because they can, but then later on they don't want to kill the Shazam family because they realize that the kids have the godly powers now. So it's like, which side, how are we looking at this? Their whole thing is that they're mad at the mortals for stealing their powers, and they want the god realm to be full of magic and life again, and they're kind of just got a grudge against us. It really doesn't interconnect with any of the protagonists or side characters or anything like that. Again, it's just there to cause chaos and conflict. That's all you need to know about them. So we got the premise set up more or less, and I got to talk about the split between the audience and the critics. As of right now, the critics are giving it on Rotten Tomatoes like a 53%, and the audience are having 87%. There's a definite split between the two, and I really want to explain why, because I see tweets like this, and I know it's hard to see because I cut it off at the bottom there, but it's got like 150 retweets with over 1,000 likes, and it's not the most popular tweet, but I definitely see a lot of similar tweets that get put out. The internet is full of extremes, hot or cold, black and white. You're either great or the worst thing that's ever been made. So I'm going to give a little bit of a middle ground here. So let's go ahead and start with the bad. There are a lot of moments in this movie, and when I talked about callbacks earlier, and I was hinting at it before, we get a lot of setup for characters that some are just set up for laughs, like Pedro and Darla, while others like Mary are just given us to an exposition of how they're supposed to feel and what's going on. Mary gets the worst of it, other than Billy, I think, because she's kind of set up to be what Billy doesn't want to be, growing up and kind of forgetting about the hero business and really just worrying about being an adult and kind of accepting the fact that there's a chance that they're going to move away and they're going to be separated. And this, to me, was really cool because it's what Billy doesn't want, but feels like he's inevitably heading over there. However, her situation, her feelings get summed up in kind of one scene. They get set up in one scene and they get summed up in one scene. And that's exactly what happens with Pedro and Darla as well. More on that later. But Mara just gets told, oh, don't worry about the house bills because we've already got them paid off. And she's like, what? Really? And that's it. I kid you not. That's it. That's how they sum up her character progression. This type of storytelling and exposition kind of blawing is prevalent throughout the whole movie, except for Freddy, who really is the main character in this one. Now, Billy gets the same thing. I feel like there were really good things to latch onto with Billy. However, they were never given enough time to grow and allow that seed to really plant itself. I already talked about how Billy is afraid of losing the family he just earned, but this really gets just told off by one scene from his now mother figure, his parental figure, who says that they'll never let him go and that he will always have a place in this house and he won't grow out of their foster care because he is family to them. And her whole thing was wanting to be called mom at the beginning, and he ends up calling her mom after that. It's a real sweet moment, except for the fact that, that Billy is literally trying to just say as much as he can as fast as he can because he's got to run and save the day. And we only get two scenes of just setting up what's wrong with Billy, and then later on showing that he is part of the family, and they're both shown through dialogue, which is just told through us. The second thing is he doesn't feel like he's good enough to be a hero or the hero. Everyone out there has kind of the same gimmicks that he does, except they all do it better. Some are smarter, faster, stronger. To add salt to the wound, Billy's city doesn't respect him or like him. Again, this is only given really two scenes. One's to set up that Billy feels like he's not worthy enough as a hero, and then the second one is to just kind of say, oh, we got your back. We're citizens of the city are like, hey, we got you. We're here for you. And I'm kind of exaggerating. There was probably 3 or 4 scenes. So throughout the whole entirety run of the movie, Billy gets about 5, maybe 6 scenes, moments where we talk about him and get to his character progression. And really, when we get to the end of the movie and he sacrifices himself for everyone and actually literally dies, you don't feel anything. You don't really care because you don't know what he's actually sacrificing, or you don't really understand what it means to him that's being sacrificed. And then, of course, Wonder Woman shows up at the end to resurrect him. And this is a callback to the first movie with Superman showing up, but it's probably the biggest ex machina I've seen in a movie in a long time. And because of these reasons, because of these failures in the character progression, the story falters. And it really doesn't have this emotional impact that the first movie had. And this is why the critics themselves probably just didn't enjoy it. Okay, let me actually check because I didn't read at all why the critics didn't like it. I'm just going from my point of view as a critic. Feels like a blatant attempt at recapturing financial excess, a solid concept, new storyline, superheroes. It manages to lose what was great about the first one, which I'm assuming she's talking about the emotional value. I guess they're not really saying. There's real potential for emotional material with Billy's older sister Mary, reminding him that is only months away. Yeah, so just off of that one line alone, I'm going to say that I was 100% on the mark and correct about that. Okay, now let's go to the audience point of view and see why they're probably giving it an 87% rating. When it comes to Freddy, who I've mentioned many times before, he's the B plot of the film. However, he takes up a lot of the emotional value in the film, which in hindsight is why the main plot is kind of lacking and it takes away from that. But he's enjoyable to watch. Anytime we cut away from the Shazam family and we go to him trying to act as a hero on his own, it's fun. And there's actual character progression going on here. He loses his powers and he has to learn how to accept who he is and accept himself as a hero. And even though his journey as well is given through exposition and telling us how we're supposed to feel, we are still able to interpret this without those lines of dialogues in the film, which is really good, and I think is why Freddy is probably the strongest character in this movie. However, because he is the B plot, it kind of gets dropped off by the beginning of the third act. His circle has fulfilled itself by then, and so when the actual heavy emotional moments are supposed to happen, we don't feel them as much. Anyways, this is still talking about the good stuff. Callbacks with Darla and Pedro, where Pedro, is seen looking at a magazine. He confesses about his homosexuality, which he was struggling with, and Darla talking about her love for unicorns, and later writing them out into battle and making a bunch of Skittle references and being sponsored by Skittle heavily, as we could tell. But these are jokes, and I think the humor in this movie works really well. DC has time and time again just shown that they are significantly better at doing action scenes than Marvel, more consistently at least. There isn't a lot of technical work when it comes to the choreographing in this movie, but whenever action happens, the camera is always centered and you're always able to tell what's going on. And to complement the action scenes is the CGI or the visuals. Visuals? Visuals. Now, if you're looking for bad CGI, you're gonna find it in this movie. But for the most part, it is a spectacle, and it does very much complement what is going on in everything that it needs to do. So overall, you have two plot lines that are fun and enjoyable to watch, intriguing and keep you captivated. You have a spectacle as action and humor are still consistent, prevalent, and overall good. And then because the movie is full of callbacks, it is easy to follow along what is actually going on in this movie, because a lot happens and there's a lot to take in, but they do it so quickly and so well where you're able to know, oh, okay, yes, Darla likes unicorns. I know Darla likes unicorns. So when we do see her again running into battle with a herd of unicorns, we are fulfilled and feel happiness for her in her situations. And it's these little things that kind of add up and stack up together. Even the Wonder Woman callback to the last movie, where fans of the original can be like, oh yeah, just like in the first one, all add up to where this movie is a family fun action adventure that doesn't need to take itself so seriously and is really good for, well, a general audience. I'm going to give Shazam Fury of Gods a 6 out of 10. Tell me what you thought down below in the comments. Do you think superhero movies are all becoming too bland and lame, or are you enjoying the huge spectacle that's being set before us? Like and subscribe if you've enjoyed what's been going on and you want to see more of it. Until next time, play nice.